You might not see it yet, but this market is under a massive threat right now, and it is to do with the S&P 500. You see, Bitcoin typically, when it's performing well, Bitcoin is going to continue to perform with the stock market, with the S&P 500, so on and so forth, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on in the video. But this gets really scary if, A, Bitcoin hasn't followed. You know, there's been a lot of really, really bullish price action here, guys. If we actually just take a step back and really look at what's happened here with the S&P 500, since your boy told you that it was going to be bottoming out in this range, you know, we have seen a 30% pump to the upside, which I know it's not that crazy, but for the stock market, guys, you know, bear with me here. For the stock market, this is huge. You know, and it hasn't, you know, it's seen one kind of big pullback. It saw a pullback here, it saw another one here, and that was basically it. You know, like, this is the next real kind of price-based pullback that we're actually seeing in this market right now. You know, which kind of it brings into question the second point. See, the first point is Bitcoin didn't enjoy the upside with the S&P 500. The second point is that now the S&P 500 is finally starting to see some downside here, which could definitely spell some nasty price action for Bitcoin. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today, because we are potentially looking at, yeah, I mean, you know, you guys know the deal, 25K being a range low. We're actually going to cover this level in quite a bit of detail today here on this YouTube video. I've actually covered this idea with you guys already. You can see it right here on this chart, the very same idea here, you know, which is that we just kind of range sideways within this kind of area, something a little bit like this, until something kicks us out, whether that's to the downside or to the upside. Certainly a possibility, which, you know, I don't think that we should brush off particularly easily. This is one of those things where it's kind of boring and it kind of just makes sense with the market, so I think that's something to keep in mind. Now, even if that did happen, you know, there was probably a long down here, so, you know, whether or not we're going down to 20K or whatever, you know, just the fact that, you know, 25K was such a significant area of resistance, you know, going back to you know, kind of late 2022, very early 2023, you know, we had some resistance right here. We even had a little flash crash that ended around this area, you know, and then a big kind of resistance rejection here that lasted only a short while. This is where your boy got into his long position. You already know the deal, you know, and so this is a really important level, you know, that the market could just kind of bounce off by default, and that's cool. You know, I don't know how high that would go, but it wouldn't have to go high to get interesting. You know, just up to the next kind of areas of resistance around 26.8 is already an 8% move. So 5x, 10x leverage, that's a 40 to 80% profits. Definitely something. I mean, like, you know, we're looking for ranges that are safe to trade, and we're not really getting them. So this would be a good example of one which, you know, like, I would feel pretty confident in saying, like, you know, this is definitely one that I want to consider. Now, obviously, the best place to trade this stuff is going to be with the links in the description here. BingX, guys, is just running a ridiculous over $100,000 bonus here, which is crazy. It literally means that you have over $100,000 in bonuses up for grabs when you sign up to this no KYC exchange. You don't actually need to do KYC to trade on this platform, which is very cool. Great for people that are a little bit more privacy minded. And one of the reasons that this is particularly interesting is BingX does allow you to trade traditional finance markets as well. Sometimes it just doesn't show those markets here, but they certainly do exist here, where you can trade Tesla, Apple, you know, Amazon, crude oil, all this crazy cool stuff as well that we don't typically have access to in the crypto markets. You actually get that with BingX linked in the description below, so definitely do check that out for those of you that would be interested. And Bybit remains the best exchange in the space. You know, that's been the case for a while, and that continues to be the case today. They have up to $30,000 in bonuses up for grabs, and that is literally free trading ammunition. That means it is extra trading capital deployed on top of what you already have in your account, and you can, you know, whatever, if you make profits with it, you can withdraw those profits too. So super cool. They're also running WSOT, and there's like millions of dollars of rewards available right there, and I'm running my own team, so check it out. That will be linked down below as well. But let's get back to the video here. You know, this possibility definitely being something which I wanted to make you guys aware of. And if we do head back to the S&P 500 as well, this is where I really want to draw your attention over to just for the next few minutes here. If we actually take a look at the SPY, which honestly I don't know the difference between these two charts, but they seem to be exactly the same, and we take Bitcoin on here, all we really want to focus on is kind of what's happened since here. So you know, this was more or less where the S&P 500 bottomed out. This is where the S&P 500 managed to you know, begin its really nice rally to where it is right now, and we can kind of trace this to see how Bitcoin responded to a lot of this stuff. We can see that, you know, if we just trace this chart with the S&P 500 for now, you know, the S&P 500 was trending up pretty much up until this point. Bitcoin was getting destroyed, and that is just a regular theme that you're going to see pointed out right here. The next time the S&P 500 was rallying up, Bitcoin did pretty well. It actually continued for a little bit longer. And then if we look from here, this is where it gets really, really interesting. See, Bitcoin actually had a really nice rally. Obviously, Bitcoin's rally was way better than the S&P 500, but obviously it's a way more dangerous asset. So, you know, it's you know, you can't just base it off that. But what's really interesting is Bitcoin kind of stops trending up over here. You know, we did, as we know, we did set a slightly higher series of highs over here, but more or less we stopped trending up right around here. And the S&P 500 was just getting started. I mean, you know, this whole time that Bitcoin was slowly dying down to 25K to get that big bounce that I was telling you guys I'm expecting, that whole time the S&P 500 was just chilling. The S&P 500 was actually, if you were watching this channel and you were subscribed back then, you're going to know very clearly, was basically just sitting at resistance, minding its own business, doing its thing, which is perfectly fine. Bitcoin dying. And this is one of the key things that, like I said at the beginning, you probably don't even know that this is playing a part on the market right now, but, you know, putting some weight on the market right now, but it most definitely is. You know, one of the things that we have established on this YouTube channel with a lot of clarity at this stage is just the flow of money. Okay, this is really important to understand, and if you don't get it, you're gonna be one of the little shrimps that gets eaten up by the whales here. You know, what we have going on in these markets is a very simple flow of money where safe assets make money, and the money is taken from these safe assets into riskier assets. These riskier assets make money, and this money is taken into even riskier assets, and that process continues. It's just a cycle. It keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going until, you know, you've made your money in the index, you've made your money in the big safe haven kind of index fund that you're safe and comfortable with. Now you're putting some money in Tesla stock individually. You made some money on that, you're putting it in Apple, Amazon, Facebook, you're putting it in whatever. It really doesn't matter. They're making you money. And so you start taking that capital and putting it into even riskier places. And we know exactly why this happens. This is purely because of human greed, right? When you make a little bit of money, you feel happy. And the next feeling you have is greed, and you want to make even more money. And because you feel confident from your previous win, you're also willing to take on more risk. Now, again, that's what we expect. That's what should be happening. And typically that's what happens here, where money flows from the S&P 500 into Bitcoin. But this data, these charts, show us a very concerning story. It shows us that while the S&P 500 was bullish, and while the S&P 500 was trading sideways, Bitcoin couldn't hold. Bitcoin was actually lagging behind. The next thing we did, the S&P 500 continued to rally up, Bitcoin still continued to fall, and then even when Bitcoin did pull its shit together, it only marginally got higher than the previous high. Guys, the S&P 500 blasted that high and got way, way higher. You know, so this is the second major point well, the first major point is that, you know, Bitcoin didn't enjoy the upside with the S&P 500. It did get the first stretch, don't get me wrong, this was great. And, you know, obviously this was a lot of it. It also got what happened, you know, basically everything, you know, in this circle, you know, Bitcoin experienced, but everything afterwards was completely missed out on. And again, the reason all of this becomes concerning now, today, when I'm making this YouTube video for you guys right now in the heat of the moment, ladies and gents, is because the S&P 500 has now potentially overextended itself. Look at this chart, guys. I mean, you know, you really have to hope that we just get some God candles just spiking this thing up, you know, because otherwise, if we don't, there is no support for the S&P 500 for quite some time. I have drawn out every area of support and resistance that I deem significant on the chart, other than, of course, the all-time high. I've drawn out every single level that I think is significant on this chart, and I welcome you to find a better line here between 4,600 and 4,200. I don't have one. You know, what I've got here is the next area of support for the S&P 500 is going to be down here at about 4,280. This is briefly where we found resistance, exactly as we expected on this YouTube channel. And that's the next area that I think the S&P 500 can bottom out at. Now, that's still a 6.5% drop away. And, you know, if we just kind of put this in perspective and we look at, like, what happens when the S&P 500 forms drops like this, well, this was 8.5%. You know, and this started on the 2nd of February up to the 14th of March. Now, let's see what Bitcoin did and during the very same time. this is roughly the same thing. We're not looking at the exact same days. Bitcoin suffers a 22% drop. So, and this is only one isolated example in one fringe case. So obviously the data is going to vary quite a lot. But what isn't going to vary typically is that whatever the S&P 500 does, especially if the S&P 500 is dropping, whatever the SPX does, Bitcoin does worse. Okay, in this easy example that I gave you, not particularly, we can't apply this to everything, obviously, but we're just trying to, let's get the point here. Let's get straight to the point. We don't need to worry about the exacts. It's not really important here. Typically, if the S&P 500 pulls back, Bitcoin pulls back a lot more. In this case, it was an 8% drop for the S&P 500 and a 22% drop for Bitcoin. So, this really helps to put things in perspective. I don't think it's going to be a disaster. You know that the bears are going to make it sound that way, and retail traders are going to start losing their heads as well. Maybe we're already starting to see some shift here in the long and short. Probably not, I'd guess, but we're definitely going to start seeing, people become really, really scared. I think if Bitcoin did manage to go down to the $25,000 area, but as it stands right now, the numbers actually do kind of line up. I mean, if we look at, the high up here, down to the 25K potential low, it's about a 21% drop, down to that $25,000 area of support. For the S&P 500 from this resistance level down to this support area is, a 7% drop. So if we do the same thing with that one example I gave you guys, then, we might be in for a similar correction. The numbers really line up. And I have to note that is only the first area of support for the S&P 500. That might not be where we actually get the bounce, if we get a bounce at all. This might just be, some sort of a, kind of dead cat rally, and then we just, fall deep down into a, economic depression, because I know everyone's got a fucking hard on for that these days. I really don't understand it, but whatever. It just seems like the most fashionable thing to say as a man who's in finance these days. I'm just pointing out what I'm seeing, ladies and gents. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. Certainly could. I'm not going to speak like I know what I'm talking about on this extremely large macroeconomic scale, but I certainly don't think that all these doom and gloomers know what they're talking about either. And from what I'm seeing right here, the trend is positive, and we've done a lot to correct down here. So, I'm still going to be looking for support. And if it's not here, then the next area of support for me would be 4120 up to about 4180, 4170, these kind of areas here on this chart where, we've just seen a lot of bounces. We've seen a lot of interesting hits here for support, a lot of interesting hits here for resistance. So, this level makes a lot of sense, I think, for the market to capture a little bit of support if it does kind of fall significantly lower here. But again, what would this translate to for Bitcoin? That's the question that we're asking here. We're not S&P 500 traders, although we certainly can be with BingX. So again, check them out with over $100,000 in bonuses, which is absolutely fucking crazy, with all the flexibility of not even having to do KYC. Definitely not easy to find these days either. Those of you that are a little bit more privacy minded are going to be appreciating that. Unless we're S&P 500 traders, this stuff is what we're here for, is just the Bitcoin trading. And again, I think we might be far away from fulfilling this idea that I had in the market, something that I certainly was expecting. We didn't quite get there, probably about halfway, maybe even a little bit more than halfway, but not quite there at all. We might have to drop by a little bit more before any of that happens. And again, that's kind of that's the silent killer here that's just looming in the shadows with Bitcoin here, the kind of build up that might potentially become a massive problem for this market. It's none of this other stuff that people are talking about right now, in my opinion. It's just the very simple flow of money. It's just where, like, the people who want to take risk, where do they want to put their money right now? It's a very simple question. It's a very straightforward question, and I think that if we focus on this instead of all of the other 99 million ways people bullshit themselves, then we'll probably have a much more sober perspective of the market. We'll just understand what's going on with a lot more clarity. And what is very clear to me is that Bitcoin being a small market in a white collar world, and that's just what it is. Let's be super clear and upfront about that. Bitcoin is no longer the fringe tech asset that tech bros are buying because they want to eventually have yachts and supermodels and stuff like that. That's just not what this is anymore. It's not where, some dude in his basement can just pump the price of Bitcoin because he market bought too many, contracts on some weird exchange. It's just, the market isn't like that anymore. This is now, in every way, really, the more you look at it every single day, becoming a standard, new component of the financial markets, and that's just what it is. So, in that world, this is an incredibly small market, and you could be, very bullish with that if you want to. It certainly, makes me feel bullish, but you can also decide to be realistic with that as well if you want to. And what you need to understand about these markets is that they are reliant on the success of the bigger guys. Now, sometimes, guys, there's going to be a deviation from that. Sometimes there's going to be a decoupling, and the asset will perform on its own, and that's amazing, and that's what we want to see. When we see that, that is Bitcoin fulfilling its true prophecy of only up, and all of that super fun stuff, straight to the moon. But for the most part, unless something really big happens, like BRICS just turns out to be a massive success, or whatever, and even then maybe not, we're probably going to see the Bitcoin continue to correlate quite well with with the stock market, especially in the negative times, while Bitcoin is in its bear market. This is something that I've been extremely vocal to you guys about on this YouTube channel for a very long time now, is that, even though I've been telling you guys, even when we were down at 17K, I was telling you guys, I'm seeing a $30,000 Bitcoin. I'm seeing potentially even a $40,000 Bitcoin. I was telling you guys that right at the bottom of this market, guys. Even though I was saying all of that stuff, one of the things that I kept on repeating is that all of this would only be a bear market rally. It wouldn't be a new bull market. I might use those words for simplicity, but what we're looking at, and what I've made extremely clear to you guys, you already know if you've been subscribed to this channel, is that this whole thing is still going to be a bear market rally, in my opinion. And the main reason for that is because we are still in a bear market, and there's a very long way to go to overwrite that. Within bear markets previously, just the most recent one, Bitcoin had a massive rally where it actually broke above the most significant area of resistance on the chart at that time. In our case now, that's actually $30,000, and it just blew right past it. It more than doubled it, and it still continued the bear market. So, bear market rallies can be quite ridiculous, especially for Bitcoin, and that's why I don't want us to feel like, we've gotten particularly lucky here or anything like that. This is normal. This is what you would expect. And that's why I was so positive about this happening, because markets, even if they're going to be bearish for a long time, don't go down in straight lines. And if they do go down in ridiculous straight lines like this, well, then you're probably going to have a really irritating hangover afterwards, where it takes a very long time to, continue that course of the market, if that's where we're going. And I'm not even making a comment on that. A lot of people now, it's getting very fashionable again, ladies and gents. I just want to point this out real quick. Among the people who know fuck all about crypto, it is getting very fashionable again to talk about $10,000 Bitcoin price targets, $8,000 Bitcoin price targets, 6K, 9K, 12K. It is getting very fashionable among these idiots in the space to throw out these numbers right now, and you can throw these numbers out with a big smile on your face when you're in your fucking Miami convention talking about Bitcoin at a conference, but when that time actually comes, I know you weren't there buying, and that's exactly why I know you're bullshitting right now. It's just the way the market is. When people who don't know anything are starting to say extremes on one level or the other, then I'm going to look away. I'm going to be looking in the other direction, because these are not the people that I want to be agreeing with. These are not the people that I want to be listening to. It's useful to know. It's useful because it gives us a little bit of a better grasp of, like, okay, where are the masses? Where are the sheep? Where are the 99%? But for the most part, we want to focus on what has actually happened in the market. And at this stage, just with all the technicals I've been seeing, nothing has changed. We are still in an uptrend. Yes, we've done a lot of things to weaken that uptrend. That is absolutely true. However, off our low, we are still up by 83 by 84%. And just to put this in perspective, we rallied up by 103. We're now up by 83 instead. We're up by 86 even, drawing it a little bit more accurately here. Let me draw this properly one sec, guys. This is important. Here we go. Here's a very, very nicely drawn, accurate estimate here. I guess I'll still say 104% up, and we're still up 87%. So it's just really, it's really not that bad. You know, that is ultimately the point I'm trying to make with you guys. You know, we've gone up by 104%. We're still up by 87%, and people are talking like Bitcoin is going to crash by like 66% now. It's just fucking ridiculous, you know, and it's only happening because the market is doing what it does so well, which is scaring out the idiots and transferring wealth from the impatient to the patient. So guys, be aware of all of this stuff. Really, really important. In the last video, I spoke to you guys about some slightly more immediate implications of all of this price action. For me, you know, a big example of that is the Ichimoku cloud. We are just rolling right into it now, which is a massive wave of new opportunity for the market as far as I'm concerned, especially if we can hold it. This Ichimoku cloud stretches all the way out to early September as it stands right now. So that is very, very promising indeed, you know, telling us that if Bitcoin can hold this price range, we have 30 days where we've got the setup we need. The setup we don't even need, but just a useful setup to pump up something that has already worked beautifully well the past 2 times we've tested it. So to me, that is a huge, huge vote of confidence. Again, guys, I do want to highlight to you that if you are interested in trading everything going on here, then check out the links in the description, and specifically the Bybit one for WSOT. It is this trading competition they're running, and if you enter with, I don't know what the minimum is, but you probably do qualify for the minimum. It's not that high. Let's say 500 just to be easy. $500 minimum trading volume. You know, if you enter with that, then any gain you make in percent will enter you into that competition, and if you win, there are, you know, millions of dollars in prizes available here. They do this competition quite regularly, so guys, definitely do jump in using the link in the description down below if you are interested in that stuff. And of course, while you are down there, yeah, bingx is there, the like button's down there, subscribe button's down there. You already know the deal, ladies and gents. I was talking to you a little bit about the Ichimoku cloud here. The other thing that I wanted to highlight to you guys is the EMA ribbon on the daily chart. This is now going to be working against us with momentum turning to the downside, but on the weekly chart, we haven't even found support on it yet, and that is very promising. You know, this is actually a very reliable indicator when the market is trending up or down. You know, we didn't quite get to use it in this case here, but here's a few examples where the market was trending up, you know, just beautifully kind of bouncing down into this range and then catapulting itself higher, and that's already served as support once in this trend so far, you know, and it very well could be ready to do so again. So there's a lot going for Bitcoin right now. You know, I think that, you know, we reach times where sometimes the price moves by this much and the reaction is this big. You know, and I think that that's what we're seeing right now. So, you know, when the reaction is this big, it kind of just tells you like, all right, you know, I'm not here to get in the same bullshit circle and hold your fucking hand and pretend that we're all, you know, riding down to 10K this week and then up to 900K the next week. That you know that you're not, you know that's not you. You know, and when you can see it in other people, you can distance yourself from it. Make sure that you are retaining a sober perspective on the market. So there you go, guys. I really hope you have enjoyed this one. You know exactly what to do. If you have, go ahead and head up the likes, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.